Hello, welcome to the DD podcast. This is where we talk to female experts about all things relevant to working women in India today, from relationships, workplace dynamics, finance, career, fitness, health and wellness, everything that you can think of. In this episode, we're talking to Shilpa Bhaskar about women and their relationship with money. Because of NerdyBird, Shilpa has interviewed about 2,000 women in different formats, group sessions, 1v1 sessions, etc., to understand what they struggle with when it comes about money and helping them get to a place where they're super confident about managing, saving, and investing money, and even spending money. Let's dive in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Decoding Broccoli podcast. Today we have Shilpa with us. Shilpa is the founder of something called NerdyBird Financial Wellness, and she'll tell us more about it eventually. We found Shilpa from LinkedIn, and we saw her work, and we're like, "Hey, can you please chat with us about financial literacy, especially for women?" And today we're gonna talk about her journey, what she has to tell us young girls and the world at large about money, and all sorts of ideas about money and women in general. Hi, Shilpa. Happy to have you here.
Hi, Anshika. Lovely to be here, and I'm excited to be talking to everyone in the community at Decoding Draupadi about money and financial wellness.
So, Shilpa, can we start with what were you told about money growing up as a young girl?
That's a great question, Anshika. And when I reflect on my own journey as a little child growing up, I remember that growing up, I've grown up in a very, very closed ecosystem. So I grown up in army cantonments mostly, where you don't really have much access to the outside world. And because of that, what I realize is that I've never really, growing up, I've never really had money in hand where I'm, sent on errands to say a grocery store or the vegetable market. So growing up, I really didn't know how to handle money. And plus, I didn't get pocket money growing up either. So while I don't remember what I was told, visually I recollect, seeing that we enjoyed a lot of experiences together when it came to money, but there was never any money in hand that I got. Plus, when it comes to a closed ecosystem like the army, you have access to a lot of facilities. So we did get a lot of privilege, but never really seen money in hand. So I think, that would be how I visually recollect my childhood. Having said that, I think growing up, more than the money, I remember the values that my parents came from. So they used money to buy themselves experiences, buy us experiences. So we traveled a lot together. I don't remember seeing a lot of brands around us. We were not the branded kind of family where we'll have branded shoes and branded clothes and stuff, but a lot of frugality in the kind of lifestyles we led, but a lot of money spent on experiences. So I would say that that value has also carried forward with me about how I look at money and what I see money doing for me as an adult.
I have Shilpa, this ecosystem that you grew up in is not the most common one, right? It is, like you said, you had privilege and yet not money in hand, which means that you lived, say, an experiential life, but didn't have your own money to play with, experiment with, make mistakes with. How do you think that has shaped your values today? And it may be the same as your parents, but is what is different? And how do you think it seeps into work?
So what happened with me because of not having that money in hand is that when I entered college life and I was finally on my own, so I was getting that pocket money finally at the age of 17, when I was in undergrad, living away from my parents. I found that I was making a lot of mistakes. I found that I wanted to spend on all of those experiences that I got, those luxuries that my parents gave me growing up. I wanted to spend on those, but I realized that I had to figure out how to prioritize my money. So I found that in my college days, at least, I was making a lot of mistakes. I would run out of money way before the month was over. Like halfway into the month, I would be out of money. So I did learn the hard way. And I would say in my first 4, 5 years of college life and then into my first job, I was saving nothing. So it was only when I started working in this finance company, surrounded by people and mentors in the personal finance space, is when I started to realize how important it is to have visibility about where your money goes, figure out investments for yourself and all of that. So I would say, because of not having that money in hand, and not knowing how to bargain with that vegetable seller or the grocery shop, or even being able to figure out and prioritize where to use my money, I would say the skills came to me much later in life. Having said that, I think now I'm in a space, and after my post grad, and after being in that finance company that I worked with, and with the people that I worked around me, I would say that I'm in a much better space. I am more in control. I have better visibility, and those are the skills that I want to really impart to other people around me, because I have seen that in my early years of work after my post graduation, when I started earning and saving and setting some money apart, investing it, it really helped me set a strong foundation for myself in terms of the wealth I've created. So now in my mid 30s, I'm in a much better place than a lot of women my age. So I would say that those foundational years in your mid 20s, 24, 25, 26, if you can start saving and setting aside a part of your income and letting it get invested, you can really build a strong foundation for yourself.
I have a question before I move on to that's super helpful, right? I think what you're trying to do now, and this will make sense when you've done the introduction, right? Is that what you learned the hard way after, say, making 1,000 mistakes, you're making the process easier for everybody else, right? I have a quick question. Did you have during college, were people around you, were other women around you talking about money, or was this a conversation like super personal to you? I mean, were people talking about this? Did you have communities? Back then?
That's a good question, Chandni. And when I reflect on it sitting here right now, I realize that those conversations did not happen. We would not talk about money openly. At the same time, here was me from a service class background, with a father earning a salaried income, a pension income later. And there was always a liquidity crunch, right? So there was a limit to how much pocket money I got vis-a-vis my peers in my college days. So I remember that my friends in college, a lot of them were from business class families. So again, there's a lot of difference in the way we spend, the way we think about money. So they were very comfortable, and this was in Bangalore. So they were very comfortable, having their own cars and taking us out, all of us going pub hopping together, spending on those kind of things. And I found that I would be left with no money at the end of the month making those kind of expenditures. So, and I wasn't very open about it. So, I think there's a lot of taboo that we all carried when it came to having those conversations. There was always a lot of tension when your friends wanted to go on this holiday to Goa and you had to say no, or your friends wanted to go out somewhere for a drink to this pub, and you had to sort of put your foot down and say, no, I can't do this. But there was a lot of shame, embarrassment, negative feelings that you carried with it, only because there's so much taboo when it comes to money conversations. And I feel like it's so important that you be candid and be open about what your values around money are. And that's something I learned the hard way, Chandni.
Got it. Yeah, I was just curious because I know it's a very different time right now. I Anshika, do you wanna ask? So yeah.
Yeah. So no, I just want to also add, I am still in college. Today, I'm happy to report as a college student, things are different. So in my college, when we are planning, say, a get together or something, we will be very mindful of saying that, hey, it is $500 per person. Is everybody in the group okay with it? And thanks to social media, I believe, we have these stereotypes around month end aa gaya, to paise nahi hai. So we can just crack those jokes and like get out of it. It's not awkward for anybody.
Ah,
But yeah, I think I'm just grateful that we're not in that messy space anymore. We're
yeah.
a little more aware and things like that.
Yeah,
But
I envy you guys for that. Really. It's
mm,
beautiful to be in that space where you guys are able to have that candid conversation with each other, laugh it off, and be more
correct.
open about it. So I'm glad to see that conversation around money are not taboo anymore. So that's lovely, Anshika.
Yes. I mean, yeah, let's see where that goes 10 years down the line when we are all making some money and maybe some are not. But that's us now. Moving forward, can I ask you about NerdyBird and how have your, say, initial experiences shaped your idea of what you want to do in life, what you want to do with NerdyBird, etc.?
So what I found, Anshika, is, and going back to the point in time in life, I was an undergrad, I was making those mistakes, having a year to spend my money after undergrad, earning my own money, spending it all and not saving. And then after my postgrad, going into the space, transitioning into a job, which was around personal finance. So I was around these mentors, men mostly, not women, men who would every morning open out an Excel sheet on their laptop and track how much they spent, how much they earned, how their investments are doing, how the stocks are doing, how their mutual fund portfolios are doing. So, seeing that and absorbing it, I found that this is a skill that I'm getting really good at. So, what I found after that is, even when I left that job and I was a stay at home mom for a while, I found that I'm the one at home who maintains that Excel sheet, who manages the money, who decides where we invest our money. And husband and wife, both of us, me and my spouse, are sitting together and tracking our wealth based on that template that I've created. And I found that a lot of women don't have this clear template or hack or any framework in their minds about how they can track their money. And I found that a lot of my friends, a lot of women around me, come from a space of a lot of anxiety, fear, judgment, worry when it comes to their money, and a lot of insecurity too. So I found that helping them through this process of templatizing it, thinking of your money from a framework, being able to put everything into a slight structure, but at the same time, be able to spend as per your values and your goals is something that I'm very good at, and I can really impart that to other women around me. So I think that was the space that really got me excited. That I love working with numbers. I love simplifying numbers for other people, simplifying numbers for women. So coming from that space, I felt like, hey, this is something that I can offer women around me and help them get confident with money as well. So I would say that's how NerdyBird came to be. And talking about what NerdyBird is right now, I've seen a journey of 3 years now with NerdyBird, and I founded it with that vision exactly, to see women around the world feeling confident with money. Because as women, there are so many societal norms and so much of conditioning that we have seen as kids growing up, where, for example, there is a patriarch who earns the bread, who makes money for the family, who manages the money. So I think a lot of the belief systems that we have grown up with have manifested and have transitioned with us into our adulthood. So it's very difficult for a lot of us to come out of that and experience that confidence and empowerment with their money. So I think that's the space where I really wanted to work, and with that vision, I set out and started taking on a lot of one-on-one clients as women for my financial wellness coaching sessions. So at NerdyBird, with that vision to see women feeling confident with money, we offer coaching and education services for women, Anshika. And I believe that we provide a very confidential space for women to come and talk about their feelings around money, their relationship with money, and a very non judgmental space. I think a lot of us feel very, very judged when it comes to our money and how we handle our money and how we think about money. So I think what really sets apart NerdyBird is that non judgmental space that we provide for you to talk about your money and get moving towards your actions and goals with money.
Got this. So something in the pop culture world is something called non-judgmental breakfast club, which is just like, oh, everybody comes together, we have fun, we talk about our lives, and everybody's accepted. And I love that. So money has always, for me also, has been something. I come from a very comfortable life. I've had access to money. But have I been taught how to use it? No. I've been told, hey, you're a girl, your job is to spend, money is taken care of. So today, I don't know probably how to budget my life or how to figure out what do I need, what do I not need. So I think I will definitely take the one-on-one coaching someday. But yeah, that's that. While doing our research, I also found out that you do group sessions with a bunch of ladies. And so far, I believe you've met some nearly 2,000 ladies, right? And that's a big number. That's a lot of people we've seen. And we've seen a lot of relationships with money from different kinds of people. What have been some experiences from those coaching sessions? Like, have you learned something that you could share with us? Something you've observed, a pattern, maybe a trend, so on.
So, Anshika, through my sessions with women, having touched almost 2,000 women through my sessions, what has also happened along the way is that a lot of these sessions are corporate sessions. So it's not just women in the room, you've got men in the room too. So even the employee resource groups that are focused on women, they open out the sessions for men as well. So they want to keep these sessions inclusive to everyone. So from that perspective, I've had sessions where there are men and women in the room. And what I've noticed is that when there are men in the room, the women do not speak. So it's the men asking all the questions. It's the men telling us to go at a certain pace. It's the men, so there have been times where I like to keep things very, very simple, fundamental, and basic, because I know that that's what women audiences need. And it's always good, even with a mixed audience, it's always good to go back to the fundamentals, because that's what really, helps people make sense of concepts. Right. So when I find myself doing that, there are a lot of men who will tell me, please go faster, you need to speed up and stuff like that. And if there are women in the room, they just don't speak up. So with women, I find that when I'm doing sessions exclusively for women, that really works. It's very, very effective. Everyone's talking, everyone's sharing their thoughts. But if there are men in the room, the chances are very high that no one's going to speak up. So this was a very powerful observation that I had. So that's really helped me design my programs differently. And now going forward, when I speak to corporates about doing group sessions, I try and ensure that there are a majority of women in the room, and we are designing the program for women exclusively when that is the mandate. Because otherwise, I find that the knowledge gap between men and women is huge. So I think that's like the first observation that I wanted to share, Anshika.
I have a follow up here. These and before that, Shilpa, I think you're not the first person to tell us this, and it is a sad observation in multiple rooms. It's not about finance and not asking questions there, but in that room, generally, women are more hesitant to like speak up, right? Um, because we have follow up questions about what you've observed. I wanted to understand what background these women come from, like all during your corporate sessions, during your 1v1s, are they from tier 1, tier 2 cities? Where are they right now? And of course, each one must have a different experience, but if you could give us a general idea of what your majority has been, that would be super helpful.
Sure. So the women that I predominantly work with and who attend my group sessions are women from your tier 1 cities. So we're talking about Mumbai, we're talking about Bangalore, we're talking about Kolkata, we're talking about Delhi NCR, and Chennai for that matter. So these are the cities where women are asserting their independence. I'm not talking about financial independence specifically, but asserting their independence in general. They are bold, they are fierce, they are ambitious, and they want this part of their life, the money part of their lives also to be in control. They want to feel confident, they want to feel like they can take charge. So this is what my audience predominantly looks like. And if I look at the age group of women, it's anywhere in the range of 25 to around 45. So that's what the age range looks like, Chandni.
Awesome, got it. Anshika, do you want to play that game with Shilpa of assumptions that we've got?
Yeah. So, Shilpa, I want to ask you a few questions about some assumptions that we have come across women and how they handle money. And I want your thoughts. And I know you've worked with a lot of women, so this might be fun, right? Something that I learned was that women prefer saving money instead of investing it. So they'll keep it for themselves instead of giving it out in the world because of whatsoever reasons. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I would say that I have seen a mix. I've seen women who have invested as well. There are women I've seen with robust mutual fund portfolios, but I have also seen a lot of women with money lying liquid in their savings account. So the salary comes in, and these are women earning fat salaries. I mean, they're earning well for themselves, but they're just letting all of that money lie idle in a savings account. So I've had a lot of such women come to me. And I think with them, the biggest challenge has been how do we now transition this money slowly and move it to places where they can grow their money and earn earn wealth for themselves over time.
Have you did you understand or did you get any insight on why this was the case? Was it a general case? Did they not want to was there some like barrier between them wanting to? I'm curious about that.
So I think it's just purely a knowledge gap. A lot of people believe it's because women are not risk takers. I would really, I mean, I oppose that completely, because the women who come to me with such situations really want to change it. So women come to me with money lying in their savings account, but they really want to change that situation. They want to put their money in instruments that come with a certain risk, but also help them grow their money. So I would say the reason is clearly because A, there's a knowledge gap, and there's also a belief system that goes with it that is not letting them feel confident about the knowledge they have, or the fact that they can get that knowledge from places around them. So there are a lot of mental blocks as well, I would say, that stop them from making those changes, from moving forward, learning for themselves, and investing their money. So those mental blocks are leading to a lack of confidence, and the lack of confidence then leads to inaction.
Got this. Shilpa, I have a curious question. In your 3 years and more experience with personal finance, what I have noticed is that women tend to spend on themselves the last. So family comes first, husbands and partners and children come. Some other excess relative comes, what like extended relatives, and they come the last. Why is there that guilt of wanting to spend on yourselves, indulging also for that matter?
Anshika, this goes really, really deep. So I have seen a lot of women who, and this I think is one of those not so happy observations as well, that a lot of women come from a place of not deserving money. So linking their self-worth with money, I would say, so not feeling worthy of money is something that is very, very common. And that comes from a space of low self-esteem, which stems from childhood experiences with family members, with people growing up. So I think it has a lot to do with the dynamics. So I'll give you a very simple example. So one of my clients, a woman in her mid 30s, came from that space of not deserving money. So she would never ask her employer for a raise. She would always give away money to everyone in her family. Her mother needs money, her sister needs money, the house help needs money to educate her child. So very, very giving, very, very charitable. When we went deep to understand why she doesn't spend enough on herself, we found that it had a lot to do with her experiences with her parents growing up, where her parents would deny her money. So they wouldn't give her money to even spend on a simple thing like a bubble gum that she desired. So friends around her used to, that time bubble gum was like a new craze and everybody wanted to chew those pink bubble gums. And her parents wouldn't allow that. They would just say, not give her money to spend on a bubble gum. So she says trivial things like that have sort of added up, that, bit of being denied money to even spend on those, small little joys in life, have slowly led to that wiring and that belief system that everybody else around me deserves money. I don't deserve money. So, and she's not alone. I have seen women borrowing money to care for everybody else around them. So I know a woman who has borrowed money and bought her friend a phone, borrowed money and helped her friend set up a tattoo parlor, borrowed money and taken her friends out for a trip to Goa. So all this coming from a place of giving, 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 and not spending on themselves. So it stems really deep, and I think it stems purely from the sense of your own worth and feeling worthy of money. So I think the question to ask ourselves is, how do we help more women feel worthy of money so that they can welcome more money into their lives? And I think even this whole conversation around negotiating better salaries for yourself and closing that gender wage gap, there's a lot of this undercurrent of my self-worth being linked to money over there as well. So when you're not coming from a space where you deserve money, you're not going to go and tell your boss that you deserve a raise. So I think that goes really deep, and it's a very complex problem stemming from what's happened with us growing up in a very, very patriarchal society.
Got this. I honestly never thought of that. I should take a moment to let that sink in, but oh my God, so many realizations are coming to me. I think, yeah, I've seen these patterns growing up. I understand where they come from. I hope we can create like a more inclusive, more accepting world, make women feel that they are worth it. And that's me quoting a certain brand. But Yeah.
Absolutely.
I also then want to ask about, so I have read about how women, when they get married, there has to be a conversation about how you share finances with your partner. Now, that's a difficult conversation because you choose to be partners for the rest of your life. That means my money is your money, my life is your life. But there's also boundaries there for a healthy relationship. Have you observed some patterns there? Have you seen some problems stem? Some thoughts that you'd want to give people there?
Okay. So upfront, let me tell you this: women who are married and have a fairly trusting, compatible relationship with money, they don't come to me. So women who have that compatible relationship with money with a spouse, if they come to me, they come with the spouse. So I'm coaching both the husband and wife. There is another problem that comes to me, which is of a lack of trust. So there are a lot of women and men in marital relationships who hide their financial situation from each other. So I've had a husband come and tell me that my wife doesn't know that I have like 40 lakhs in loans right now outstanding, right? And there are women who've come to me and also said that I don't want my husband to know that I have uh, 30 lakhs lying idle in my account right now, because otherwise he will use that money and he'll want to spend it on his startup, expenses for his startup. He'd want to use it to repay his loans. So I see a lot of that distrust. So I feel like when it comes to money and marital relationships, the trust has to be established straight on in the beginning, even before the marriage. Because if you're not transparent with each other about what your financial situations are, it's going to lead to a lot of distrust and a lot of distance between you as time goes by. And a lot of money issues have led to divorces and separations between couples. So that's not uncommon. And a large part of my clientele, I won't deny it, are women going through separations and divorces because of these financial issues and that financial distrust between husband and wife.
I have it's a follow up to the previous one actually, and to be honest, I've not seen. I think I've not seen good examples of couples sharing money, and that's why I don't have a counter sort of point to like share here, right? But when it came to the mistakes one, right, this thing that you said stuck with me. Women are risk takers when it comes to helping other people out. Like the examples you gave, somebody is taking, like putting money in to help somebody set up a tattoo parlor. That is a risk you're taking, right?
Absolutely.
Somebody, yeah, but the same bit, at least I've read research says that today women are more afraid of making mistakes with their money than men. And the fact that, I mean, like women are more afraid, like the fear is more in a whole gender, also means that they will spend less time doing it. They will not take up charge as often and learn as fast, right? So, one part is that if they are okay to do it for others, like you said, there is some hesitation to do it for yourself. But this fear bit, right? Like, one, do you agree that women are more afraid of making a mistake? Um, and I can tell you that my thought is that that fear comes from being judged already. If, for example, I have grown up seeing even the most nice men around me joke about how if somebody is driving a car, right, and if it's a woman driver, if they're driving really well, they're like, oh, this is super cool. But the second you crash, there is, oh, I knew it, it's a woman, right? That doesn't, it's directly associated to that, right? And it, you get what I mean, right? It is not. So with money, I think is, and that's my understanding and thought, and I want you to either add to it, scrap it, or tell me something new. That one, there is already this judgment that, okay, you're not good with it, and thus I'm afraid to try something out. And is that where that fear stems from? So one, have you noticed this? Is research, saying the right thing? Have you noticed this for women in India? Because a lot of research that we read is for outside, right? So yeah, that's my thought. One second, Anshika,
Okay.
do you want to add to this before?
I had a thought. So, general pattern that I've observed with women is that we are not given space. We have to claim it. Even when you claim it, you have to prove that you're worthy of this space, which means that you always have to be the best at what you do. You cannot make mistake. Like, it's just ingrained in our heads. Okay, I have fought for this space. I have fought for my own financial independence. I better be making good use of it. I cannot experiment. I have to play it safe. I have to take lesser risks maybe, but show the world that I'm worth the money. I'm worth, say, sending out to a new city. I'm worth whatever opportunities that are being given to me, all the independence I've claimed for myself. I'm worth it. And that's just a pattern I've observed, which just means that women have lesser space to make mistakes. And is that also something that you've seen in this pattern?
Let me share like a linked observation to this,
Yeah.
Anshika and Chandni. And one of the problem statements that women come to me with. So we list out all the things that all the issues that they're facing when it comes to their money. So number one is I'm bad with my money, judging themselves. So a lot of the vibes that we give out is us judging ourselves. So I'm bad with money, I'm bad with numbers, I'm bad with jargon. So telling ourselves, I feel this has a lot to do with that mindset that we've been wired to experience or to think over time. So I feel like rewiring that mindset for ourselves is number one, so that we're not sending out those vibes of I'm not good enough, and I don't that you can judge me because I'm judging myself too. This is a little complex, I know, and it goes into more of psychology with money. But can we stop judging ourselves first and being nicer to ourselves, embracing ourselves for what we are, and coming from a place of, hey, this is my situation, I need help with this, and let me find that help, right? So coming from the mindset of possibilities, coming from that mindset of, I can do this, right? So that's number one. Now, a linked observation is that a lot of women tell me that when we go for a party or a social gathering and we're standing with a bunch of men. So I'm this lone woman, I'm standing with a bunch of men. We're all drinking together, chatting. The conversation eventually veers off to money. And a lot of women have told me this, that when the conversation starts to become about money, I find myself slinking into a corner and not wanting to be a part of it. Right. So one of the things that they really want to be doing through those coaching sessions with me is to assert that financial knowledge, assert what they know about money in their social circles, which is heterogeneous groups of men, women, and everyone else. So it's pretty interesting, and that's an observation. So I'm open to hearing your thoughts, your questions, and we can move forward from there.
My brain is just immediately thinking of how we see the same patterns across areas of our lives. And these huge ones, right? Like work, money. I've heard the same thing of like people just, like not being able to speak up when certain topics come up. For example, we've heard about some experiences where at like workplaces, when people start hanging out, if there are more men in that group, like call it a tea break, call it like coffee table chatter, all of that, right? Water cooler chatter. Um, Conversations typically go to sports, typically go to these details that have been like predominantly male conversations and now are taking up. I mean, now in sports there is so much to talk about that is gender agnostic, right? But earlier it wasn't. And I think one, it is always sad to hear that even today in 2024 with money in tier 1 cities, these are tier 1 women telling you that, right? That's why I was particularly curious about who you're speaking to, because if you're telling me that somebody who makes good money is in a room full of people like her colleagues, right, and is yet not able to speak up, I think it is something to think about. And that's why, Shilpa, I'm super super glad about the kind of work you do. That's one thing I wanted to add. My experience has been the same. I don't have a counterpoint per se. Happy to hear from Anshika in case she has something to add. But yeah, that's my thought.
No, I think with all the time we spend with each other, we think the same things. But yeah, I've observed that too. Like in most predominantly male spaces, women do not have a conversation to lead. And when they don't have something to lead with, they just shrink away in a corner. Like they don't feel part of these conversations.
So, Anshika, to that point,
Yeah.
do you think that women don't have that knowledge within them? They don't have the same skill set? They're equally qualified. I mean, they're doing the same
Exactly.
things. They have a lot of knowledge, but we're always second guessing our knowledge.
Right. Yeah. I'm sure. It's never like a lack of competence. It's always some, I'd say, some signaling in the world that probably tells that, hey, maybe you might not belong here. This might not be your arena. And sometimes we create those signals for ourselves. We look for these signals and then find it and trust them. But yeah.
I think.
And
Sorry.
go ahead,
No,
Chandni.
sorry. Okay. This is an idea, and this is off topic, but when we talk about allyship, right? When we talk about, okay, see, one part is that all three of us are working with women specifically to sort of help them progress in multiple areas of life, right? For you, it's finance. For us, it's more than one right now. When I think about allies, this thing that Anshika said is brilliant. Anshika, we have to talk about it. Signaling could, for example, today when Anshika and I are in a room, we act, and all the people we're surrounded by today, right? We're lucky to be surrounded by colleagues who are very, very good at being hype people. Like, I know that Anshika has a thought about something, and I find a way to prompt her for it, right? Because sometimes you as an individual cannot. It could be about that moment, it could be about that day, it could be about that month where you are not confident about saying that thing. But I, as a friend, colleague, etc., might know that, hey, you have the knowledge here. If I give you a little space from my side. I'm like, Anshika, do you remember you told me about this last time? Do you want to talk about that? Right? Like the same thing. If you're talking about that woman being in a group of people, when we talk to allies, could we tell them that, hey, these are some ways to create space to make conversations better around you, but it's a thought. And Shilpa, happy to know what you think, because if there is some merit in this, and only you can tell us that, it is something for both of us to think about. But I think that signaling is a great one.
Absolutely. I think when you think about your environment and the people you are with, and who are the people in this group that are going to be your cheerleaders, that can support you and help you, pump up your self-esteem and your belief in yourself. I think it all stems, at the end of it, it's just that, right? Your belief in yourself, your belief in the fact that what you need to know to be in control of the conversation. So it all boils down to that. Now, I would say there's a lot of inner work that we need to do as well, and that's where coaches are very, very important. You
For
need
sure.
people to sit down with you and to help you peel those layers, and help you unravel the root cause of why you feel this way in those settings, in those environments, in those conversations.
It's
And yeah,
it's the
go
world
ahead.
can't help you till you haven't been ready for it. It's that, right? So that is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I find that I need to remind a lot of these women that personal finance and finance in general is a lot more intuitive than they think. It is not all about the jargon. So if there is a person in the room who is spouting a lot of jargon, who's using difficult words, who's using very complicated language, it is okay for you to tell that person to pause and to simplify it for you. Right. So I believe that if that person cannot do it, then chances are that this person themselves doesn't know enough about the topic or doesn't understand the concept. Because I believe that any concept, however difficult it may appear, if if you're in a position to actually break it down, simplify it, and talk about it like you're explaining it to a 5-year-old child, then you know it for yourself. Otherwise, you're struggling with the concept too. So I have to keep reminding women that, hey, that person in front of you may not know everything, right? You may actually know a lot more, and you've got to trust what you know.
Awesome. Because of this observation, you started with a list, like women list down. You told us I'm bad with money. The second one was a linked observation that they cannot sort of speak up in rooms when money comes up as a. Is there more to this list? Could you tell us what else these people have put down? If you can remember something at the top of your mind.
Okay. So number one is definitely I am bad with money. This is the most common bit I hear. The other one is around avoidance, right? So it's a lot about I cannot look at my money. I've been avoiding it for the longest time because I'm scared of what I'll see. And when we actually open up the numbers and we look at their income, we look at their expenses, we look at their assets, we look at their loans, it's a pretty picture. So what were you scared of? So again, it's coming from that place of judgment. I am judging myself every moment. I am scared to look at where I've been spending my money because I'm judging myself. And that's also something that's really, really, so they want me to just sit down with them, open out those sheets and look at it with them. It's as simple as that, right? And that gives them so much ease and so much confidence to then be able to do it themselves. So I think that's number two. The third is money is all about numbers. There is a huge fear because you open up any money channel and they're constantly showing you these percentages and these big figures. But actually speaking, it's not that difficult. It's very, very intuitive. Very simple things like ensuring that the amount that you spend is less than what you earn, that you're putting away some part of that money. Those are not things that require number crunching. So a lot of people who come from creative backgrounds, from artistic backgrounds, they're very uncomfortable getting into the numbers, the structure of it all. And I tell them that if you just follow some of these very basic principles, you are good to go. So it doesn't have to be. And for things that where there is some number crunching required, be open to taking help and support. So I think these are the three. And another one, Chandni, is, and this is also something that's very, very deep rooted, which is, I don't, is this around this word enough. I don't think I'm earning enough. I think I'm spending too much, right? So always questioning that thing around enough. Am I spending too much? Am I earning too less? Am I saving enough for my goals? So also second guessing the amounts that you need for different things. So that's also something that's really common. This thing around enough. And everyone struggles with this. Even people with very high net worths, with a lot of wealth, struggle with the question around, do I have enough? And even people, with a lot, and you'll find that there are people with a lot of money who are always second guessing that thing around, do I have enough? Whereas there are people who are making less money who come from that space of abundance where I know I'm okay. So it's a lot of feelings. And that's why I like to call it financial wellness, financial well-being, because it's all very, very feeling centric. It's not about the numbers. It's not about the amounts, but it's about helping you feel like you have enough.
That is super helpful. You're right. I think I related this really well because creative background, numbers are tough for me. I just want to be told the core of it without making me feel like, okay, I have to sit down and do math every month, right? That's not the idea here.
Yeah.
That's awesome. These are all the questions I personally had. These assumptions came from some of them are Anshika, some of them we went around our, like sort of people and friends, and we told them, okay, what have you heard, right? So that was really nice to see that these assumptions are mostly just myths. If they're facts, then there are people like working to solve that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's us. AK, do you have anything to add? One second, let me mute. One second.
No, nothing to add. But when you talk about women being uncomfortable with their money, to just look at it, I just want to say I've seen that happen. Chani and I, we have a common friend. She told us about how she just cannot look at her bank statement. She just does not want to. She knows money is coming in, money is going out. She knows that she's in a good place, but doesn't want to know the exact figures. And she talked about how one of her New Year's resolution is just to look at it. Somebody told her every day, once a week or every day, just wake up and look at it. And she tried doing that. First week, really terrible feeling of just wanting to open up your bank account and knowing the exact figure.
Yes.
I don't understand personally how that is limiting for people. I'm sure you'd be able to give me a better explanation. But that's one. But eventually, over time, she just started feeling more secure with her money, more in control. And nothing changed. Her spending habits didn't change. Her spending avenues didn't change. Just the fact that she knew how much money there is. And that's just that, just looking at it. So,
yeah, absolutely, Anshika. So to add to your point, I would say that, we've talked about all the pain points. We've talked about the mental blocks. We've talked about the limiting beliefs around money. What is the solution to all of this? What is the answer really? And the answer lies in awareness. And that's exactly what you said. Feeling aware about your relationship with money, feeling aware about those limiting beliefs. So if there are beliefs that are holding you back, do you know about them? Have you peeled those layers? Have you understood them for yourself? And when it comes to the feeling of not knowing how much is enough, whether you're spending enough, whether you're earning enough, again, it comes from that place of awareness and visibility. Am I looking at my money? Do I see the numbers for myself? Do I know if I'm making more than I'm spending? Do I know that I'm able to save some chunk of my money every month? Do I see my investments growing? So if I had like 2 lakhs yesterday, do I know that the 2 lakhs has become 3 lakhs today? So that's all about visibility. And sometimes we don't know in our heads that 2 lakhs has become 3 lakhs. And that's causing so much anxiety and insecurity within us. So at NerdyBird, it is our endeavor to help women and coach them from that space of awareness to a space of action. So we start with awareness, we help you pass through all your numbers, pass through all your belief systems and all of that, and then move you to a space of creating a plan about where you want to go next, and then helping you actually implement that plan. So we handhold you through that process. And that's what coaching is about when it comes to your money.
That is, I do want to add here, Shilpa, I know I'm a part of your WhatsApp community. We also chatted about this in terms of what you do with that community, right? You said it's about awareness. I think if I look at another component to this, it would be also community. Like where are they getting this awareness from, right? So do you want to, sorry, do you want to tell me a little bit about what you've noticed with these women? How have they benefited from, say, a WhatsApp community, the group sessions? Okay.
Okay, Muskan, you're still here, right?
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
hi.
Chani and Anshika, hello. I think Chani and Anshika are at the same location. That's why.
Yes.
Hi, I'm so sorry. My Wi-Fi is horrible. It was a decision. I got like Geo Wi-Fi, and they didn't tell me that air fiber is new. I didn't know I had to ask that question. So they set up air fiber. I've paid for 6 months, and now it just gives me trouble every once in a while. Apologies. Sorry, I'll restart. So what I was trying to understand is that, Shilpa, in from our conversations, we've spoken about the fact that you also have a WhatsApp community where all these women are there. It's an open community. Every Friday, you also have like some prompts, questions, sessions, etc. I wanted to understand because you specifically spoke about how awareness is at the core of it, and you use awareness to sort of get to action. I wanted to understand what role community plays here, because has it helped for these women to be in a group where they don't feel like that they're alone? And my guess is that they feel that way, but I would love to hear from you what you've noticed, what kind of feedback you've gotten for your community. Yeah, that's my thought.
So what I find with my community is definitely, Chandni, that knowing that everyone else here is in a similar boat and we're all here for a similar reason, it gives you a lot of comfort and a lot of encouragement in that learning process. So that is very, very helpful. Additionally, what I find then is that when I do sessions, when I invite them to attend my session on, say, investing or 5 steps to financial confidence, I find that when they're all in the group together, they are so open to asking questions. They're open to learning. They have tons of questions. And when there are questions in the room, you know that everyone's with you and there's a lot of buy-in and there's a lot of learning happening and a lot of takeaways. So I find that just knowing that we're all together, there's a sense of belonging. There's a sense of, okay, I'm going through this, but there are 5 other women or 10 other women, around 200 other women going through it. So it's a beautiful feeling, and it's a feeling that, I can sail through this and I can transition from a space of not feeling confident to being confident and financially fit.
That is super helpful. I'm glad you reaffirmed that fact for me. Shilpa, that was us. Anshika, unless you have a question, I wanted to say, Shilpa, do you have some? Okay, perfect. Shilpa, do you have something to tell us? Is there a parting thought? And if not, we would just like to. I'll actually pause. Sorry. Do you have a parting thought?
So, as I was thinking through all of these mental blocks that you spoke about, there was one more that struck me, and I feel like that's a good piece to conclude with. A lot of us feel like we ask dumb questions. My money question is dumb. Okay, sorry, I cannot paint this in a more politically correct manner, but that's exactly the sentence and that's the statement that I hear so much, right? Well, let's come from a space where we are much, much more loving to ourselves. from a space where we embrace what we know, embrace what we don't know, and come from a space of being a lot more nicer to ourselves, I would say. And I think if we can do that, that's a great starting point to grow, to learn about money, to get confident with your finances, and make a lot of wealth for yourself.
Thank you so much for sharing that and for like sharing everything here. I think it's been super lovely to um, hear from somebody who spent time on ground. To be honest, Anshika and I read Muskan now. We'll do introductions in a bit, but we've spent a lot of time reading about these things, and it is very important to understand them in the context of women in India. And you helped us do that. So yeah, thank you for this time. Awesome.
I do have another thing to add. I don't know where you'll
Oh.
add this in the flow of things,
Please feel.
but there isn't enough data in India and the world. So you'll notice that all the data that you're reading about financial literacy, about financial confidence and financial well-being around women, all of this data is given out by organizations and agencies that are selling investment products. So they will always highlight what they need to highlight in order to sell what they're selling. So I haven't seen any unbiased research that has been done on this topic, especially from India's standpoint. A lot of research is very, very biased. Even if you look at financial literacy research for that matter, it shows like 26% of India is financially literate. I have no idea where they pulled out those numbers from. So I feel like a lot more research and a lot more standardization is needed in how we understand financial literacy, how we understand financial well-being.
Now it makes sense that a lot of what we read are also culture pieces and stories more than numbers, because now it makes sense. Like now if I'm thinking about the last 5 pieces I read, these were stories written by individuals and not research sort of done at large. But that makes sense now. Yeah. Awesome. What else, Shilpa? Or like anything else you wanna?
No, I think we're good. I've really enjoyed having this conversation. And especially since we're talking to very similar women, we're talking to women who are fierce, who are ambitious, who are bold. I think it's lovely that we are sitting in the same room and having this conversation. So thank you so much, Chandni. Thank you so much, Anshika, for making this happen.